Coming up on this episode of the Spiro podcast.
And for those of you out there, I read it this morning on some of the Facebook groups, is some of you are worried. You're like, I just started, what do I have to do? Is this ever going to happen?
Welcome to the Spiro podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magrum.
Hello and welcome to the Spiro podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a software platform designed to help you manage your day-to-day business and help you really grow each and every day and take really good care of your clients. I'm Craig Magrum, host of the Spiro podcast, and my partner in crime, our founder, our owner, and co-host of the podcast, and master of hijinks and surprising me with all sorts of fun things, Todd Kivimaki.
Yes, welcome. I'm not going to disappoint today, Craig. So thank you for that. I feel like you've set the bar even higher that I need to throw you off guard now. And I've got a few things up my sleeve, so stick around for that. But welcome, everybody. Hey, January's done, y'all.
It's crazy. 1 month out of the year gone already.
Insane. And February is a fast month. We lose a day. It's a leap year.
Is it?
I believe. Somebody told me that. I believed them. So if it's not.
I didn't even look at it this month. February. Yeah, it is. 29 days this year.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So what's new with you, Craig? You out smoking on the barbecue yet?
No, but I did fire up the Blackstone. So my oldest just turned 19 on the 31st. And he's moved out. He's out on his own, but he came back, so we could celebrate his birthday. And I said, "What do you want to eat? We always take him out or make a special meal." He's like, "Is it too cold and in the middle of the winter to fire up the Blackstone and do smash burgers?" I'm like, "No, it's not." And I haven't fired up the Blackstone in forever, so made him some smash burgers on Wednesday, and he really enjoyed it. And he's like, "Dad, those were awesome." So always makes Dad feel good. Yeah.
When your 19-year-old comes back, it's never too cold to do anything, right?
Right.
I am finding that out very quick. I mean, I have an 11-year-old. That's my oldest right now. So I'm not far behind you, but and 11's still a different age phase. Sure. So, he still thinks I'm cool. But I am like, he's going to more things on his own. He's a ball boy at the varsity games and he goes, I'm like, "Oh, where's B at?" Like, and it's just, so yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, I'll run through that mountain, I'll run over that mountain for you. It's never too much to do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. Other than that, had a great week at work, and we'll talk a little bit about our weeks this week and what all that entailed. Kind of a day in the life of type of episode. All right. How about your week, Todd? How have things gone for you?
It was a good week. My daughter was scheduled to have surgery this week, and a few days ago she had strep throat. So when you have that type of infection, I've learned that they don't like to put you under anesthesia. Right. And it's saying that correct. You know how much of a medical person I am. Anesthesia. Yeah. So that got postponed, I think, for about a little over a month, which was kind of nice that we didn't have to have surgery this week, but still it's like it's not done yet. So just juggling a few things there. But it was a great week, exciting week in Spiro, exciting week at WOW. And as Craig mentioned, we're going to take this podcast to give you a little insight as to what we are working on in our media company, our WOW Video Tours, our real estate media company. So I won't say a whole lot more about my week, but some fun things happened and fun things unfolded. I learned a few things, and I'm learning that time goes faster and faster.
That it does. So, yeah. We've talked about this in the past, and we have a slow season where our company is located. We're in right in Ohio and in the Midwest, and of course we have the change of seasons. And January, February, beginning part of March is usually a little bit slower in terms of the number of shoots and listings that we're at recording and what. So I take a lot of this time to develop the business relationships, to get out to the brokerage offices, to make presentations. Sometimes there's events that we sponsor, and I had two bigger events this week that I've been prepping for. One was a realtor leadership summit for, I think they're the number 3 or 4 brokerage in terms of number of agents in the market that I serve. Yeah. And first time that we've been a part of that event. I think it's only the second time they've done it. But there was over 100 agents there, and then gave a presentation yesterday at a brokerage office in one of our smaller markets just south of where I serve. So it was a couple of bigger events that I had to do some planning for, and it was a great time.
Yeah, I know you prepped a lot for this appointment, Craig. One thing that you did, you worked on your beard. And that was something that I know the image that you had at this meeting was the summit was important. And the interesting thing is, so we challenged you all. Sorry, Craig. I'm sorry that I get so much pleasure out of this.
You're not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
You're not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. But Craig wanted to work on his beard and the different looks for Craig's beard. You know, we had talked about this. This is a very important topic here at Spiro.
Right.
As to, you know, should the beard stay? Should it go? And so we asked you all to give your best rendition of what you think would look great on Craig from a beard perspective. And we had Tyler Moser do some Photoshop rendition. So Tyler, thank you so much for this. I think I was driving and almost crashed into a car when I viewed this. It was hilarious. And so he did a couple renditions here. Yeah. And the first one is pretty close. He just did a bearded Craig. Yeah. And so we'll put this up on the screen for you. If you're listening to this, sorry, this is worthless for you if you're listening to this right now. Just fast forward like 2 minutes. But if you were on YouTube.
Or jump on YouTube, yeah. You can listen to it, but then go over to YouTube when you can.
Yeah, so go over to YouTube. So if you see this is going to make more sense. So this is Craig maybe in about, I don't know, Craig, is this first one like 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now? So it's a longer beard.
Maybe 60 more days, yeah.
Okay, but it looks legitimate.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I liked that I think would have gone over a little bit better at the summit was we had kind of the Captain Jack vibe going on here. And I really like this. We showed this at morning meeting because I love doing this. But Ryan said, this is almost like a Post Malone type look. So I think the challenge should be now face tattoos on Craig. And I think there's something in it. What, Craig? Now you've shared that you're somewhat of an introvert. What a better thing to talk about at a large group, you know, nightclub type of environment. Think of like what introverts do not want to be in, like music playing, darkened in there. What crowds a better thing to talk to, but face tattoos to your realtors. I mean, that would give you something to talk about in the crowd.
Would you even allow that as a representative of WOW?
I mean, quite honestly, pending what we get back, I might pay for the tattoo.
You know, as conservative as I am, Todd, I don't know if I've ever told you this. A number of years ago, let's see, this would have been around 2001, 2002, when I was working in radio. I was actually thinking, I was considering getting a tattoo. I was looking at getting the triquetra symbol. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like a 3-tiered kind of infinity type of loop.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And
I was talking with my boss, who actually happened to be my best man at my wedding as well, about that. And this guy's been a mentor in my life forever. And he's like, Craig, now think about when you're 80 years old and you have this tattoo and it's all saggy and blurry. And do you really want that? And I'm like, guess not. But there was a time in my life when I was thinking about a tattoo. And you know, I am riding motorcycle again. So the beard is coming in.
Yes, I was just going to say that. What a better time to revisit this, Craig. You went from having motorcycles at that time to no motorcycles, and now you have a motorcycle again. And why not just get the face tattoo?
I'm pushing 48, midlife crisis. I don't know what. Yeah, this might be the perfect time for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gail would think this is a great idea. We don't even need to ask her. We'll just go and do it.
All right, this is totally so unrelated to real estate media business, but hopefully those of you watching and listening are at least getting some entertainment value.
Tyler, thank you for brightening my week and sending me those bearded
Tyler, I have to say that was a lot more conservative than I was expecting. That wasn't horrible. So thank you.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
Oh, jeez. I was expecting full on Duck Dynasty, type beards, but that came through. I'm like, that's not terrible, actually.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Kind of like it.
All right.
Okay, so
All right.
I derailed us. So let me get us
Right.
back on track. So we want to talk about what we did this week, Craig, because it's relevant to everyone else out there, more relevant than beard talk. But Craig, so what did your week? We talked about this summit, and then I derailed us about preparation. But you had a summit. This was an event. It's still slow season for us.
Right.
What'd you do leading up? How do you think about this? How'd you get it? All those ideas. So if our listeners are wondering the same.
Yeah. So like I said, this brokerage is probably number 3, number 4 in Toledo in terms of number of agents. I think there were just over 100 agents that came and attended. It's their second year doing it. So they invited, obviously, a lot of the support vendors, inspection companies, title companies, those type of businesses to help support this through sponsorship. They gave us a booth that we shared. And so anytime you're in that kind of like convention like atmosphere or trade show, whatever, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to represent yourself well, especially as a visual marketing company. So I had to think through, what's our booth going to look like? How do we want to represent ourselves visually and show that, hey, we're somebody that can bring value to what you're doing, because you're also visually marketing people's homes. Had to think, what type of materials do we need there? Should I have some sort of video running, business cards, special, if we have special pricing for that brokerage, have all that information out there. I think I said business cards. So the main thing I made sure that we had there was a branded tablecloth. We want big, bold, here's who we are. Quite a few of the other vendors, all they had was a white piece of paper taped to the front of their booth. They didn't have, really strong branding. If you're a visual marketing company, you need to make sure you have strong visual branding that represents you well. So it starts with the tablecloth. We had flyers on pricing that we had for that brokerage. We had, couple page flyer of who Wow Video Tours was, the type of services that we provide. Had my business cards there. We did a drawing for a photo, a video tour, and a vertical video package that we gave away at that summit. So a good way to collect leads and business cards, people to follow up with afterwards. And because we are Wow Video Tours, we would be totally irresponsible in not having some sort of video running at the booth to show, give somebody a very solid visual of what it is that we do, the type of work that we do. So I had one of our editing team members put together a montage of a couple of cinematic walkthrough video tours, some vertical videos, some agent home highlight ads type of videos that we've done for their realtors, photos mixed in there, just a good broad representation. And each of those elements I made sure was an agent from that brokerage, so that they would recognize, hey, other agents in this brokerage are using this company. They're legit. That video was the thing I wanted to make sure especially was on point and relevant to the audience that we were reaching. So, and just being out there, Todd, we've talked about the fact that I'm an introvert, but I've learned how to be extroverted in those situations to, exude confidence. Don't hide the fact that hopefully you do enjoy your work. Don't hide that. People love seeing others that are enthusiastic about the work that they do. And I really do enjoy the work that we do. And so to be able to share stories of work you've done for, other agents in that brokerage, having those conversations, I offered several coffee meetings, of which there was interest. So I've got, a couple leads. I'm following up on that. So yeah, it was planning on what materials do I need there in the booth? What's the image I want to project for Wow Video, and making sure that I'm engaged with those that come up to the booth, and then follow up afterwards. Yesterday, I spent a good chunk of the afternoon reaching out to each of those agents that left a business card and just thanking them for taking time to stop by and introduce themselves. Even if it was me introducing myself first when they walked up, I thank them for introducing themselves and just see if there's an opportunity to follow up with them. you got to follow up with every lead you get at these type of events.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. The typical saying, the fortune's in the follow-up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I have a few questions for you, Craig, and these are some legitimate questions because I'm just ignorant on this. I know what happened. I'm glad that you did it great, but what was, and you don't have to tell us the exact cost, but what is a cost for a booth like this? You said it was a sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
Should our listeners expect to pay a sub 100, a few hundred, or thousands? And this is going to vary based on market, but what should somebody expect to sponsor an event like this?
I think it's going to vary depending on how big the event is, where the venue is, what all are they providing the attendees. This included lunch, it included dinner, it included a couple of national speakers. So they had to cover costs. We paid, middle hundreds. For the sponsorship. Okay. It was under 1,000. If we get even one or two jobs out of this, it's paid for itself. And it included the opportunity to come up on stage and introduce ourselves and our company. Nice. During the lunch, the lunch period. It really helped when the owner of the company introduces you and says, "Wow Video Tours just shot my $900,000 listing and it's gotten hundreds and hundreds of views." I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better introduction from the broker owner. It was worth the investment.
Yeah, that's great, Craig. Awesome. Okay, now for the booth look. Now, I know you had some things arranged, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a standard set. Like, we already had this tablecloth, and so if you all out there just have a box that you put all this stuff in. Now, you're always going to have some things to put together, like what Craig had our production team do, pull specific listings from that brokerage, from that area, is super smart. So you won't have that produced unless you're redoing an event of the same company. But how do we make this easier? Do we already have that tablecloth? Are these things that we already have, or how are we doing that at WOW?
Yeah. So each of the business development specialists in each major market, we have a tablecloth for each of us. Steve, our VP of business development, has made sure that we have those for each of the markets. I already had flyers made up with the pricing program for that brokerage. So that was already done. I already had, the pamphlets that we have that advertise WOW Video Tours and what we do for brokerages. So I already had pretty much everything I needed. And I literally have it in a box. I carry it in my trunk because I'm working out of my car a lot of times, out on shoots and out at presentations. So it wasn't too much work in terms of gathering what I needed. I already had it mostly all together other than that video.
Just going through it again and making sure that it's all there. Yeah, It makes sense. Do we still use, so a couple quick questions here. We printed items. So we printed price lists. Do we print those? Is that like a professional printer? Do we print them on a laser printer? I know what this answer is, but just tell everyone else if you can.
Yeah. Again, because we are a visual marketing company, we have a professional printer do it. On semi-glossy paper, I don't want to use printer paper and an inkjet printer. The colors just don't reproduce as well. It's not a glossy good presentation. We invest in professional printing for sure, and a certain weight paper.
Yeah, and I can say that makes a difference when I print on nice paper or when we send it out. So we have a larger printer in here in the office that can print on heavier paper. And, I remember many owners that I've sat with that they go, "Oh, you use the nice paper," because they're thinking about the same things when they give a presentation. That's what they think about is even the weight of the paper. Like, I use the heaviest paper, like, go overboard. No one's ever going to say, "Hey, this is too thick a paper that you gave me." So spend a little bit of money there. It's worth it. Right. Plus, you don't have to worry about is like your toner out and your printer at home. Like, just send it out to a printer and it's going to look great.
Yeah.
Okay, what about, so we've talked about these before, and tchotchkes, the little tchotchkes, I call them tchotchkes. What do you call them? The junk on the table, they grab
swag,
the stress ball, the swag. Yes. Swag. Do we still do swag on tables, Craig?
I did some. I had some WOW branded pens out there. We had some, notepads. I did have the stress ball. We have stress balls, Wow Video Tour stress balls. And to be honest, because of the way the booth was set up, we actually were sharing an 8-foot table with another vendor. It was pretty tight. So I didn't really have the space to put out the stress balls because I had 2 laptops, one with our video presentation and one showing our marketing toolkit through the Spiro system. Just so people could kind of see what our system looks like. So I didn't have, I didn't have the space for the stress balls. I should have taken them up with me during the lunch presentation and thrown them out into the crowd. Now I just thought of that. That would have been a great opportunity.
Yeah, maybe that's an idea. Maybe we could, you could do a riddle or some sort of question, and then you rubber band like a gift, something to a stress ball or a $10 bill or something.
I have an idea, Todd. Can we get a wow t-shirt cannon? Thump, thump.
Hey, we'll see what's in the budget. I mean, it would be kind of cool. I would like, that would be neat. Seriously enough though, just think if you went into an event like that and had a t-shirt cannon and shot them out, people would remember you.
They would.
They would. A couple of more just basic questions. So in the booth setup, so you told us that you had 2 laptops on the table, but we shared a table, which is somewhat atypical for an event. Typically, there must have been some space constraint.
There was. It was not a huge venue, but they had an elevated platform where all the vendors were. So space was tight, but you do the best you can with what you're given. So
yeah. So this is maybe just a preference, but this is one thing that I do differently now that I had done differently this is one thing that I learned over the years, that I used to do differently. Do you stand behind the table or in front of the table?
In front of the table, all times. Here's why. When you're standing behind that table, there is physical separation between you and the person you're trying to build a relationship with. So 2 things I do. I make sure I'm out front meeting and greeting people, not being pushy. You don't want to be smothering and be that greasy salesman, but you want to be warm. You want to be welcoming. And one thing that I was taught early in my sales and business development career is don't stand like this with your arms crossed.
Cross-armed.
When you are cross-armed, you are closing yourself off from that person. Now, that's comfortable for me, to be able to stand like this. But you got to make a conscious effort to not close yourself off to the person you're trying to build that relationship with. So hands, out, shaking hands, moving around, being open, being relaxed, being confident, not overbearing. You don't want to jump on people. I would, hey, I'm Craig, thanks for stopping by the table. Appreciate it. Yeah. And, so what is it you guys do? And most of the time, Todd, they were starting the conversation and asking, who is Wow Video Tours? So when they give you the invitation to share, it's a lot more natural and easy. Let me add one more thing, just since you asked that question. If you're outside and at a booth, do not wear sunglasses. It's another way of cutting yourself off from a person. We make connection with eyes, right? On this podcast, I've got my monitor over here to my left where I see you on screen, Todd, but my camera is right here. I've got to make eye contact with the camera because the person watching on YouTube, you're watching the screen. I need to make contact with you. That's how we build relationship. There's just something about human interaction. So don't wear sunglasses at events.
Yeah, those are some really great small tips that make a huge difference.
Right.
I used a stand when I started. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm at my first event. I would stand behind the table because it would make you feel comfortable.
Right.
And the people would walk by and I wouldn't say anything to them. And now we push the table back, stand in front of the table. Yeah. Now we're not a full out like, hey, folks, vote for Donnelly. Like,
right.
So we'll know how old, if you get that reference, you're not 22 or you just watch a lot of movies. But that was Tommy Boy, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that.
We're not scaring people as they walk by, but we are friendly. And just remember, they're walking through a vendor fair. The people walking through know what they're walking through to find out who's in there and is there something in there they want to know about. So you might as well try to at least say hello to them.
Yeah.
If you have a handout or if you're doing a drawing, that's what you could even approach them with to begin with. Hey, do you want sign up for our drawing, win a free vertical video and drone or whatever it is. But you can lead with that, lead with giving them something away. Who's going to be like, oh no, I can't believe you're talking to me, trying to give me something.
Right.
So,
and make
okay, great. A couple.
I was just going to say, make your giveaway worth their while. If it's something chintzy, small, and it's just a sales tactic, no, thank you. But who's going to turn down photos, video, and a vertical video on a listing if they're trying to build their, make what you're giving away worth it.
Yeah, good point. If you're giving away your own services, then what you're actually giving away. If you're shooting it all yourself, you're just giving away your time and then editing. But you're not giving away much, even if you're not shooting it or editing yourself. The cost of goods is all you're giving away,
right?
To potentially gain a client. Okay, you said afterwards, Craig, that you reach out to these individuals. Is this reach out? What type of communication is this?
So my initial is I sent out emails yesterday. I don't want to jump right on the phone and look too desperate. Let's put it that way. And there might be different opinions on this. This is what I'm comfortable with doing is I follow up electronically. I send them a thank you for stopping by the booth. I'll re-mention, hey, if you're still, if you're open to it, we talked about a possible coffee meeting. I'm happy to treat. They might respond. They might not. I put a note in our CRM to follow up in 2 weeks if I haven't heard from them. Next time I follow up, it's going to be with a phone call because I want to change up the method that I'm using to follow up because realtors get 20 bazillion emails. They might not even see the initial email, but I want to make sure I then follow up with at least a phone call, still somewhat within the range of the event that we were at. So that's my plan right now. I followed up with everybody via email. I'm going to give them a call in another week or two and just follow up if I haven't heard from them from that initial email.
Awesome. Just a small question on that follow-up email. Were those all, was it a form letter? Was it just did you draft it once, send it to everybody? Was it personalized or was it a mix of both?
The body would have been somewhat the same, but okay. I try to personalize each one. I didn't have so many cards that I had to do a bulk type of form letter. I like the personal touch. I like them to know that, hey, this isn't, just a form letter and an impersonal. Again, it goes back to the relationship. I understand the efficiency of templates and form letters, but man, we, as business people, we get so many of those and you can spot a form letter a million miles away. And I want to build that personal relationship. So I try to make mental notes of what might have been discussed in the conversation, and I'll mention that in the follow-up email. Hey, it was great talking with you about, you just getting licensed, 3 months ago. Congrats on that. Excited. So I try and bring something personal into it.
Nice. Do you remember that? Do you keep notes on site, or how do you?
I probably should write it down as soon as they walk away, but if somebody else is there, that's going to look really weird.
It's tough to,
So I try to make mental notes. And again, we didn't get 20 bazillion business cards. So I was able to remember faces, and look back at the card. Oh, yep, I remember this person. I remember what I try to just make mental notes.
Okay, awesome. And then one thing that I wanted to reinforce that I used to do wrong over the years, and we've learned, I think Steve put this in place. Craig, you might have already done this in the past. This might be common knowledge, but I just want to say it because it wasn't common knowledge for me. But the workflow of if you send or outreach to someone and you're waiting for a response back, it should be on you to make sure that you follow up with them. So the thing that Craig said is he put a follow-up or a follow-up task in our CRM for 2 weeks. If you don't set that follow-up task,
you'll forget.
You're going to forget.
Yeah.
So that's a very simple thing. Send the email, make the call, set the follow-up task all at the same time. Worst case, in 2 weeks, when you get to that follow-up task, that you've already talked to that person. The conversation has moved along because you see it in your conversation view and you know that you don't have to call them because there's something else on your schedule that, took precedence over that call. So overall, we spent money on it as a company to sponsor the event. You had time involved. Some of the staff here had time involved putting things together. Of course, you had to go there and spend your time there. Is an event like this worth it in your opinion?
Like this one, with the number of realtors that were there and the number of cards that I got, and some really good conversations. I've already got a couple meetings set to follow up on. Yes, absolutely, it was worth it. It might take a couple of jobs to recoup our money, but assuming that they like what they're seeing from us and the service that they get from us, the product that they get from us, that's going to become an ongoing recurrent client that is going to make money for us down the road. And that's just that many more potential referrals you get because of bringing on a new client. One thing I've heard, Todd, is you have to spend money to make money. And that's hard, especially for a conservative personality that might be tight with their money. You have to invest in your business. So make the investment, but make sure you follow up on what's needed to further those relationships. But yes, absolutely, 100% worth it.
Great. Glad to hear that. And for those of you out there, I read it this morning on some of the Facebook groups, is some of you are worried. You're like, when I just started, what do I have to do? Is this ever going to happen? And then there's a group of you that are the ball is rolling, but you're so busy doing the task every day that you might not be devoting enough time to events like Craig, the summit that Craig just told you about. And it all goes back to what we talked about at the beginning here with these goals that you want. And will you set apart the time? Will you make it a goal? If it's a goal, we have to schedule it on the calendar. And again, we're going to get to that. We just want to take a few tangents here before we talked about goals again. But it will happen if you devote enough time to it and do the right activities and enough activities. And there's no guarantees. Just a quick story of mine. When I started shooting weddings, my goodness, this was almost 20 years ago. I wanted to get my name out there. I thought, what better to do? I sponsored the local bridal show. I thought, I'm going to buy the inside front cover of the publication.
Prime real estate,
probably
right there.
The second most expensive to the back cover. The front cover wasn't available. It was just the publication spot. So inside front cover, I'm thinking, this is going to be fabulous. I'm going to be booked up. It's going to be crazy. I don't think I got one call from that thing. Honestly, I don't think anybody saw it. I mentioned it at the event. People were like, what do you like? They had no clue, like, no. So long story short, some things work and some things don't. I'm sure people saw my company name in the inside front cover there, just like people saw Craig at the summit the other day. He might not know about it. There's some he knows about, and there's names that it's like, it's great. Yeah, we talked to the people we wanted to. So we can kind of attribute that it was worth it at this point. But you're going to do events like this at times, and you're going to walk out going, that was just not worth it. And then after the fact, I will say that you go, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize that happened, and that happened, and that happened.
Right.
We want instant gratification, at least I do in this day and age. And sometimes walking out of an event and not knowing like, hey, this is what paid for all these things and my business is now booming. It's just not going to happen for an event like this. It's consistency is what it is.
Right. But don't forget, there's back end work to any sort of sponsored event like that. Like we said, you have to follow up, especially with the hard leads that you have, the cards that you got in hand. If you don't follow up, that was a waste of your money. You have to follow up. All right. So that was my week, Todd. Like I said, I did have one other presentation I did at a brokerage office, and it was a different type of presentation. I designed this one more as like a back and forth discussion. They wanted it to be more educational. So I did some education on the benefits of using video and how to do some of your own video content ideas, things like that. And, teed up, hey, if you don't want to put the work into the production, that we've talked about today, that's something we can help you with. But hopefully this has been good education for you to get consistent with video in your marketing. And I asked them some questions, and I don't think I've ever actually done that before in a presentation for WOW.
I love that idea.
And it got the whole table involved, and there was some really good laughter. I was able to relax. It wasn't just me preaching, at an audience. It was a lot of back and forth, and I really enjoyed that meeting. So that something else for you to consider is maybe do it more as a back and forth and ask the brokerage some questions. Say, hey, I know about this in terms of media, but help me understand a little bit more about what you're dealing with trying to win business and get the conversation going. People love to be heard. They like to share their knowledge as well. So if you're asking them questions and they see that you're trying to learn and not just try and sell your and hawk your services, there's a good chance they're going to remember that meeting because it's a different type of meeting. So I had a lot of fun with that. But you had some things going on this week as well, and this whole episode's kind of a day in the life of. So what's been going on for you this week?
Yeah, a few different things. So one, it was the wrap of a month, the first month of the year. So we looked at numbers, and then also we had one of our first really large clients want the showing time upgrade service. So
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just spend the next 5-8 minutes here and stressing kind of some things I learned from both of them to try to give you some insight. But first off is, and I've preached this before, but numbers are important. It's important to know your numbers and know where you're at. So we look at our total number of jobs monthly. We look at our average order value. And we also then, those two combined make up our revenue. So total revenue. And we look at this weekly. Steve looks at it, and Craig, I'm sure you guys look at this more, sometimes on a daily level. But I look at it at a week level, and then we really analyze it over a month. And I don't want to say that 1 month should paint your picture of what's going to happen, because we've done that negatively in the past where we're like, oh, this month is, going to be terrible or was terrible. And then we assume the rest is going to be terrible. Don't do that. If you're one of those individuals out there saying, hey, January was terrible, remember it should be. It always has been terrible. It always will be terrible. It's slow season.
Unless you're in Australia.
January.
Unless you're in Australia.
Yes. And it's beautiful right now. And you guys turn your webcams off when you talk to me in Australia, because I can see how beautiful it is outside. So just mentally note, I know numbers are going to be down, it's way down from what a March, April, May, June is for us and probably all of you. But we do set projections every year. So we set goals of what we want to hit, and then we measure what the actual numbers are versus our projections. And, coming into the last week of January, we felt pretty confident about the number of jobs, but we realized our average order value was down. And, Steve had already done the analysis of average order value, and we realized that it's always down in January. Think about January, especially if you're in a more of a seasonal climate, you can't fly as many drone. More drone get canceled. People are not upgrading to those because it doesn't look great right now. Remember, like Craig always mentions, we're a visual media company. So the agents are going to naturally spend a little bit less than when it looks bad outside than when it looks good. So all of these things, we saw good and we saw bad, but then the bad that we saw being the average order value being down, we knew that it wasn't a problem because that's what it is every single year. So just knowing that information really helps. And one thing that we discussed is as a team, we talk about this as a team. So if, our customer service people up front, when they answer the phone, know that our average order value is lower in January and we need X amount of jobs to get to our goal, they have that on their mind, and everybody collectively as a team helps the goal happen. So, it's just not one of us at the team, and at your business, it's not one of you. And for those of you saying, hey, it's only me right now, what my point is think about those other hats as well. You have every hat on,
right?
But you need to, when it's only you have to hustle enough to wear those hats enough times that it moves your business along, because it still is important to answer the phone when people call in, because you will be able to suggest a product to them that's going to help them market better. And what that does is that increases your average order value.
Right.
So, just quick stats with WOW, because now we know how the month, ended up. We were 6% up, just a little over 6% up in the number of jobs over goal. So 106% to goal. So it was exciting to hit goal. And then we were 102% to goal on revenue. So 6% over the number of jobs, only 2% over the number of revenue. We were excited because we saw that revenue rebound. It actually made up space in the last week of the month. And we thought we were going to be below goal, and we actually went 2% over goal. So those numbers are good to know. And I'm excited because those are different numbers than what we saw for our company last year. So you might be flip-flop this year. You're going to have some up years, some down years, and that's okay. That's business. But we were able to control our activities. We felt like we built a really good foundation. And then we're looking at the metrics, knowing where we're at, planning, of course, for February. Everybody always knows, like Steve announced this month, and we do a flyer on it of how many shoots, what are our total number of shoots per the month that gets us our goal. That relates to how many shoots per day. And just a quick tip, we do shoots per day based on the number of business days. Mm-hmm. We don't do it on every day of the week. So there's 29 in February. We just do like the 21 business days that there are. You might shoot a couple on Saturday or Sunday. Just don't put that into your equation unless you're shooting every Saturday. But we just take business days. Total number of shoots divided by business days gives us our goal of the number of shoots we want per day. That might be simple for you because maybe you just need 2 shoots a day. Great. Just write it down somewhere is all I'm saying. Even if you're like, hey, I can remember 2, put it on your mirror in the morning, 2 a day. I want to shoot 50 this month. So that wrapped up January for us. Exciting to see those numbers. If those aren't your numbers and you're like, hey, January wasn't great, that is okay. Just know the numbers and then look for some gaps as to, one, is this really a problem? So the example of average order value, we realized that it was not a problem. It was $20 under what our goal is. And we're like, immediately like, wow, $20 less per shoot over hundreds and hundreds of shoots, that adds up. But revenue still caught up. So analyze if it's a problem or not. And you might have some cases where it's like, hey, this is a problem. Okay, how can we fix it? What do we need to do to get past that problem? Just try to go logically. I know it's tough because there's not a lot of sun, shorter days, and we all can be hard on ourselves, especially as a business owner. But just pull it back to metrics. If you have someone that you look up to as a business advisor or find a coach, they can help you along with those things.
Right. Yeah. Good advice. And, set realistic numbers. I have the tendency to really try and stretch goals. And if you don't hit those because they're unrealistic numbers, that can really damage your psyche. So don't be unrealistic. Set realistic goals, things that are attainable that might take a little extra work and effort, but don't set unrealistic things that are going to pull you down in terms of your mental state and, emotional state, things like that. You want to stay positive. There's hope. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, for sure. Good advice, Craig.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, kind of a day in the life of, week in the life of a real estate media company. So hopefully some practical advice for you for sponsorships, events that you might be able to go to, how to develop relationships, setting goals and numbers. And like Todd said, we're going to get back to digging into goal setting and prioritizing goals in the next few weeks here and continue on that series because it's good information, helps give you structure to your business and just keep moving forward. So any final thoughts or things to share, Todd?
Yeah, we just ran over, Craig. I was going to talk a little bit about showing time. So this is going on a lot along the, out there in the world. And why don't we just push that to next week? I think my quick conclusion on showing time is we looked at it as a company. We talked to them. We had some agents that wanted it. I think there's some things we learned, some things we're okay with, and some things we had to get over. But overall, I think if it can save a VIP and keep your VIPs happy and your clients happy, I think there can be benefit in there. We're cautiously, optimistic about that program, but still understanding what it can do. Okay. And so we can dive into that a little bit more next week. But if you just became heightened because I said showing time or Zillow or these things, I don't want you to be. Zillow is, yes, they are out there and they are trying. They have photographers out there trying to take your business. And this has been said. I'm not the first person to say this, but they are not really competition for you. They have another service as to where you can get their media to them. Your clients can choose to stay with you. Your clients are your clients. Craig and I said this way back when we did the podcast about this initially. Ultimately, whoever has the relationship with the client will keep the client. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're seeing unfold. This is over 6 months later. But if you have the relationships with your clients, they know, like, and trust you. They will call you. You'll talk to them. They'll stick with you. Mm-hmm. And everything will be okay. There'll be some bad. We lost a client this week at WOW. We got a plan for how we're going to get them back. We got better on it. So I don't want to paint the picture that all is well with us. Like, I think sometimes on social media and media out there, like, there's some things that we had to get over this week, but do not let yourself focus so much on the bad. Fix the bad and move on. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. Bad things happen to us every day at WOW. We screw things up. And quite honestly, when we fix them, our clients think more highly of us.
Right. That's a key point, Todd, because a lot of people will just give up. And if you show effort and proactiveness in addressing a client's need, and I had a client that we lost over the summer last year that I finally was able to sit down with and ask, what can we do better? What did we do that caused us to lose your business? And she said, actually, you didn't do anything wrong. I love working with you. Actually, I like you guys' pictures better. It was simply a matter of she dug into their internal system and saw some things that were a convenience to her that she didn't realize we had similar things. Because I hadn't gotten to sit down with her in a while and show her those things. And so we talked through it and she's like, I'm going to relook at this. She goes, because honestly, Craig, I like working with you guys. So yeah, if you show the effort that you're really going to put in the work for that client, like Todd said, you've got the relationship. They're going to respect you more for that because you're going above and beyond. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So next week, discussion on showing time. So you have that to look forward to. Thanks for joining us again this week. We know that your time is valuable. We know that hopefully you're busy or you're busy trying to get busy. But hopefully this is good education to help you reach the goals that you've got. It's a privilege for us to be able to, the fact that you trust us to listen and to share this knowledge. We really do want to see your success. If you have a success story, something good that's happened, we do this on our Friday morning staff meetings, Todd. You always ask us, hey, what good happened this week? And I'll tell you what a great way to start a meeting just the positivity that we have and can encourage each other. So if you have a good story, something positive that happened this week, email us hello@spiro.media. We want to celebrate in your success.
Oh, I love that idea, Craig. So if you all can email us what a win was for you this week, email us hello@spiro.media. Also, let me know if I can share it online here. And I'll just do a first name level. If you don't want me to, that's fine. I won't share it all. But let us know if we can share it because I think that is great. That is so insightful, Craig. What builds momentum but this positivity? And I love the idea of you all sharing it with us. So email us hello@spiro.media. Let us know what your big win was. If you could just put win or big win in the subject, I'll probably do an email rule so that these can get auto-categorized to a folder where I can then read them from. So just put big win in your subject and let me know if I can or cannot share them on the podcast. But this is exciting as a community together. Let's celebrate our wins together.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Great episode this week. Todd, thank you so much as always for the insight that you've shared. And those of you watching, listening, thank you. Again, thank you for your time. Make sure that you take time, be thankful for the blessings you have, and take a breath. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and WOW Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.